Welcome to the Deep Dive, brought to you by BookCast FM, bringing books to life one cast at a time. Today, we're diving deep into a really significant book, Ray Dalio's Principles, Life and Work.
It's definitely one that makes you think.
For sure. And it's not just, another business book. It's this blend of autobiography, philosophy, even management science, all from the guy who built Bridgewater, one of the biggest hedge funds ever.
Yeah, quite the resume.
So our goal today is pretty straightforward. We want to pull out the key insights, the practical stuff, basically give you a shortcut to understanding Dalio's blueprint for success, both in your personal life and professionally, too.
Right.
We'll look at how his life shaped his ideas and then really unpack the principles themselves for life and for building effective teams and companies.
And it's quite a system he's built. You mentioned the breadth and depth. It's definitely there. What I find compelling is how it's structured. It's not just theory thrown out there.
No, it's grounded.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Grounded in his actual experiences, the wins, the losses, everything. And the core idea, really, is this system of principles. It's his way of navigating uncertainty, making better decisions.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Before we get to the principles themselves, we really need to understand where they came from. Dalio's story, it's not just background color, it's the proof, the living proof of his whole philosophy.
Absolutely. You can't separate the ideas from the journey.
So he starts out, middle-class kid in Queens, pretty normal beginnings, but what drove him wasn't school so much as, curiosity. Got into investing at 12.
12? That's pretty young to be picking stocks.
Right. Bought shares in Northeast Airlines. It tripled after a merger. And he said, it was easy to be hooked when the first stock I picked tripled. That was it. Hooked for life.
You can already see that mindset forming, can't you?
Totally. This independent streak. He loved risk, figuring things out, autonomy. Yeah. He wasn't big on traditional paths. He even said, I loved gambling, not for the money, but for the thrill of figuring out how to beat the system.
And what's fascinating, even then, is how he treated everything like data. Even a lucky break like that stock tripling. He started seeing the world as a kind of machine, cause and effect. That's foundational Dalio thinking right there.
Yeah, that machine concept comes up again and again.
So he goes through college, influenced by the counterculture, looking for different ways of thinking, then Wall Street. But he found it too ego-driven, wasn't his style.
So he strikes out on his own.
Yep. Founds Bridgewater Associates in 1975 from his apartment. No clients, basically no money.
Just a dream, as he put it.
Exactly, and a commitment to research-driven analysis, not just gut feelings or emotion. He said, I started Bridgewater with no clients, no credentials, and no money, but I did have a dream.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, though. The part that changed everything for him, the part that basically gave birth to these principles, we're talking about the abyss.
Ah, yes. The early 80s prediction.
Between 79 and 82, he predicted a global depression. He was so sure. Advised clients, testified before Congress even, and he was just dead wrong, as he put it, completely off.
And the consequences were brutal. Lost clients, lost money, had to let everyone go. His whole company, essentially.
Imagine that, the humility.
Yeah.
He said, I couldn't have been more wrong, and also I had been so arrogant, and I had been so wrong.
Which raises a huge question, right? How do you recover from that? That kind of public, massive failure.
Yeah.
For Dalio, that was the crucible. This is where, if you connect the dots, his most famous formula comes from.
Pain plus reflection equals progress.
Exactly. Pain plus reflection, progress.
That's it. That failure wasn't just bad luck. It was feedback. Critical feedback. It really forced him to build systems, checklists, feedback loops, ways to stop that happening again.
He actually calls it one of the best things that ever happened to him.
Yeah, this painful failure was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Incredible perspective.
It fundamentally shifted his thinking. Humility became an asset.
He realized being open to being wrong wasn't a weakness. It was essential for learning.
Right. That's the start of his whole radical open-mindedness idea. Actively seeking out people to challenge him.
He said, I learned that no matter how confident I was in my view, I could still be wrong and that my ego stood in the way of my learning. Powerful stuff.
It really is a profound shift.
So what does this all mean for you listening? I mean, it's not just about hedge funds. It's a universal lesson, right? How can we take our own failures, our own mistakes, and turn them into genuine progress?
It's about that reflection piece. Don't just brush off the pain.
Analyze it. Write it down. What did you think? Why were you wrong? What system can you build, even a simple one, to do better next time?
That's the takeaway. Turn the pain into a learning process.
So after the abyss comes the rebuilding phase.
Right. The road to rebuilding, this is roughly 83 to 94, meticulous work, slowly rebuilding credibility, all driven by that data-focused approach. And this is where the principles start getting written down. First internally at Bridgewater.
He was becoming an architect.
Exactly. He said, I was evolving from thinking of myself as a trader to thinking of myself as an architect of decision-making systems.
And this rebuilt foundation led to massive growth, right, from 95 to 2011.
Yeah, Bridgewater became huge. And the ultimate validation, in a way, was the 2008 financial crisis.
They saw it coming.
They not only saw it coming, they actually profited while everyone else was, well, panicking. It proved his model, his principles. He said, because I had a clear framework, I could see what was happening while others were confused and emotional.
Which brings us to the final phase in this part of the story, returning the boon. What's that about?
This is around 2011 to 2015. Dalio starts shifting from running the show to mentoring, formalizing these principles for everyone, not just Bridgewater.
Sharing the knowledge.
Yeah. He really believes that principles, not just background or luck, are the key. And he wanted to share that idea widely. As he put it, I wanted to help as many people as possible get what they want out of life, not just the wealthy.
Okay, so that journey really sets the stage. Now we get to the heart of it, the life principles themselves. These aren't meant to be rigid rules, are they? More like an operating system.
That's a great way to put it. A framework for you to approach life, make decisions.
So how does he define a principle?
He calls them fundamental truths that serve as the foundations for behavior that gets you what you want out of life.
Okay, fundamental truths.
But crucially, he says they're hypotheses, things you test, you refine. They have to be your truths, not just copied from him.
And why write them down? Seems like a lot of effort.
He found it clarified his own thinking, kept him consistent, reduced those emotional in-the-moment decisions, and importantly, made it easier to teach others.
That makes sense. So how do you build your own principles then, if you're not supposed to just copy his?
He gives this really powerful three-question framework. Simple, but deep. First, what do you want? Really get clear on your goals. Second, what is true? What's the reality of the situation and the world? And third, what should you do to achieve number one in light of number two?
So what you want, what's true, and what you should do.
Yeah. His quote sums it up. Think for yourself to decide. 1, what you want. 2, what is true. And 3, what you should do to achieve #1 in light of #2.
Right. Okay, let's dive into the first big life principle. This feels foundational. Embrace reality and deal with it.
It really is the bedrock. He calls it hyperrealism.
Hyperrealism, meaning?
Accepting the world exactly as it is, not how you wish it was. Our ego, our emotions, they cloud our view.
The fog machines.
Exactly. Reality, for Dalio, is just a machine. Understand how it works, don't fight it. He has a great line. Don't let your need to be right be more important than your need to find out what's true.
Oof. That hits home. So the takeaway for you listening, try to consciously ask yourself, okay, what's really true here? Forget what I want to believe for a second.
And when you feel pain or frustration, try to analyze why, instead of just reacting. What reality is bumping up against your expectations?
Okay, so if embracing reality is the mindset, what's the action plan?
That's the 5-step process. This is his practical roadmap for getting what you want.
Step 1.
Set clear goals. But be realistic. You can have virtually anything you want, but you can't have everything. You have to prioritize.
Step 2. Identify problems, the obstacles in your way, and crucially, don't tolerate them.
Step 3. Diagnose the root causes. Why are these problems happening? He warns, if you don't identify the root cause, the problem will keep recurring.
Makes sense. Step 4.
Design solutions based on that root cause diagnosis.
And finally, step 5. Implement. Push through, get it done. Discipline.
Right. So the practical tips here are write your goals down, maybe keep a problem log, and really dig for root causes. The 5 whys technique can be useful here.
Okay, this next principle seems to tackle our internal stuff, our own minds getting in the way. Be radically open-minded.
Yeah, this is huge for Dalio. It's about overcoming 2 big barriers. The ego barrier, wanting to be right, and the blind spot barrier, our inherent biases.
How do you do that?
Well, remember, pain plus reflection, progress. Pain is often a signal that you're bumping up against something you don't understand, or where you might be wrong. It's a cue to learn.
So lean into the discomfort?
Sort of. And actively seek out thoughtful disagreement. Find smart people who disagree with you and genuinely try to understand their perspective. Stress test your own ideas. Ask yourself constantly, could I be wrong?
That takes guts. A practical thing you could try is actually saying, maybe in a meeting or discussion, look, I might be wrong here. Let's explore your idea.
Exactly. Engage constructively, even if it feels awkward at first.
And this open-mindedness naturally leads to understanding others better, right?
Yeah.
Which is the next principle. Understand that people are wired very differently.
Precisely. We're not all the same. Everyone has different strengths, different weaknesses, different ways of thinking and processing information.
And Dalio used tools for this.
Yeah, he mentions things like Myers-Briggs, MBTI, and Bridgewater developed their own assessments like the Strateris Hype Compass. But the point isn't just to label people. It's to objectively understand how people are wired.
So you can build better teams.
Exactly. Complementary relationships, matching people's strengths to their roles. As he says, don't expect people to change much. Design around who they are.
So for you listening, maybe use some of these assessments to understand yourself better and your team. Talk about your natural styles.
It can really improve collaboration.
Okay, so you understand reality, you have a process, you're open-minded, you get that people are different.
Sure.
How do you actually decide things effectively? That's the next principle.
Learn how to make decisions effectively. Dalio sees this as a skill you can absolutely learn and improve.
Not just innate talent.
No. He talks about differentiating between that fast, intuitive System 1 thinking and the slower logical System 2. For big decisions, you need System 2.
Be more like a scientist.
Yeah. Form hypotheses, gather data, test your ideas, actively look for evidence that might prove you wrong.
And this is where that believability weighting comes in again.
Right. Believability-weighted decision making. Don't just treat all opinions equally. Give more weight to people who have a proven track record in that specific area and whose reasoning holds up.
Quality over democracy, in a way.
You could say that. His point is stark. The quality of your decisions determines the quality of your life.
So, actionable advice. Before a big choice, ask, what's the evidence? And go talk to people who've actually succeeded at this before.
Makes sense.
And connecting decisions to people leads to the next point. Understand that the right people for you might not be right for others.
This is about fit, especially in close relationships or key hires. It's not about finding universally good people.
It's about finding people who are good for you or for the specific role.
Exactly. Shared values are absolutely critical, non-negotiable for Dalio. If values clash, it's going to cause problems down the line.
So how do you figure that out?
He suggests using tests, trial periods, being really transparent and honest about expectations and values. His quote is key. The key is to find people whose values and abilities align with yours.
Good advice for work and life, really.
Definitely.
Okay, last life principle. How do you make all this stick? How does it become second nature?
It's about habits. Use your principles to build habits and guide your life. The principles aren't useful if they just sit in a book.
They have to become automatic.
Right. He suggests creating your own principles repository or cookbook, capturing the lessons you learn.
And it's dynamic.
Totally. Test them, refine them, update them as you learn more. Use tools, checklists, reminders, maybe journaling to reinforce the habits.
Like building muscle memory for good decision making.
Exactly. He says, when you write your principles down and regularly reflect on them, you create a roadmap for yourself that you can rely on through life's fog.
So the takeaway is to build in a review process. Maybe weekly, maybe monthly. Reflect. Update your principles.
That's how they become truly yours and truly useful.
Okay, that covers the life principles. Now let's shift gears. If life principles are the personal OS, the work principles are about applying that same kind of thinking to organizations, right?
Absolutely. It's about building high-performing teams, what he calls idea meritocracies.
Idea meritocracies. Okay.
He sees an organization, again, as a machine made of culture and people.
And the goal?
Meaningful work and meaningful relationships. That's the ultimate aim. And the foundation for all of it. Radical truth and radical transparency.
Okay, radical. What does that actually look like in an office? Seems intense.
It can be. It starts with trust in radical truth and radical transparency. That means telling the truth, the whole truth, even when it's really uncomfortable.
No sugarcoating.
None. And making almost everything open decisions, discussions, data. The idea is that this builds trust, speeds up learning, makes decisions stronger, and actually creates that meritocracy where the best ideas win, not just the loudest voice or the highest rank.
But the challenge is, it must feel weird, maybe invasive sometimes.
Oh, for sure. Dalio acknowledges that. At Bridgewater, they recorded most meetings. Performance reviews were often visible. It's a different culture.
Wow.
But his core belief is stated clearly. Radical truth and radical transparency are the foundation of meaningful work and meaningful relationships.
So a practical step for a team might be just encouraging more open, respectful disagreement. Maybe documenting decisions more clearly.
That's a good start, building that muscle.
Okay, what about mistakes at work? Most places punish them. Dalio's take.
Totally different. Create a culture where it's okay to make mistakes and unacceptable not to learn from them.
Okay, that second part is key.
It is. Mistakes are inevitable. He even thinks they're good if they lead to learning. You distinguish honest mistakes from, say, negligence?
And track them.
Yes. Bridgewater had internal systems, like a mistake database, to track errors and analyze them. Encourage open discussion about what went wrong. Diagnose the root cause.
Just like the 5-step process for individuals?
Exactly. His line is, mistakes are opportunities to learn if you treat them that way.
Yeah. So for your team, maybe create a simple log. When something goes wrong, ask, what's the real root cause? What principle did we violate, or what new principle does this teach us?
That kind of structured reflection is powerful.
Another big problem in organizations, people aren't on the same page. How does Dalio tackle that?
With the principle. Get and stay in sync. Alignment is critical. Clear goals, clear expectations, clear roles.
How do you achieve that sync?
Open dialogue. Hash out disagreement. Use something called the 2-minute rule.
2-minute rule.
Yeah. Each person gets 2 minutes to speak uninterrupted, to lay out their thinking before anyone else jumps in. Helps ensure everyone feels heard and understood. And again, document agreements. Avoids, I thought we decided, later on.
That makes sense. His point is getting aligned is more important than individually being right.
Pretty much. It's more important to get in sync than to be right. Collective progress over individual ego.
So in meetings, maybe pause more often. Explicitly check, are we all aligned on this? Try the 2-minute rule.
Worth experimenting with, for sure.
Okay, now, for maybe the most famous and potentially controversial work principle. Believability-weight your decision making.
Ah, yes, the dot collector and all that.
Explain it. It's not just voting.
Definitely not. The core idea is that the best decisions come from weighting opinions based on track record and logical reasoning. Not all opinions are equal, basically.
So someone who's been successful in Area X gets more say on decisions in Area X.
Essentially, yes. Their believability is higher in that domain. Bridgewater used tools like the Dot Collector app for real-time feedback during meetings, helping assign these scores.
That sounds intense.
It can be, but Dalio argues, a believability-weighted idea, meritocracy, is the best system for making effective decisions. And he adds, not all opinions are equally valuable, and pretending they are leads to bad decisions.
So for us, maybe in a group decision, consciously ask, who here has actually done this successfully before? Give their input extra consideration. Avoid that default to easy consensus.
That's the practical application. Be thoughtful about whose opinion carries weight on what topic.
Okay, this next one blends principles with tech. Use tools and algorithms to shape thoughtful decision-making.
Right. Dalio didn't just write principles down. He codified many of them into computer algorithms.
Turning principles into code.
Yeah, essentially if-then statements based on the principles. To support human decisions, sometimes even make them. Examples are things like the Dot Collector, the Pain Button app he mentioned.
Pain Button app.
A tool to help people log and analyze their emotional reactions to things, turning subjective feelings into data points for reflection.
Wow. Using tech to reduce bias and ensure consistency.
That's the goal. He believes if you can program your principles into algorithms, you can make better, faster, and more consistent decisions.
So, even without complex apps, we could turn our own best lessons into checklists. Simple if-then rules, use spreadsheets to track decision inputs and outcomes.
Absolutely. Systematize your own best practices.
Okay, finally, it all loops back to leadership. What makes a great leader in Dalio's framework?
It's captured in understand that great leadership is about making others successful. Leaders are designers, architects of the machine, not just operators pulling levers.
So creating the environment for others to succeed.
Exactly. Building the systems, fostering the culture. It requires tough love, high standards, combined with deep empathy.
And leaders have to walk the talk.
Absolutely critical. They must model the principles, admit when they're wrong, seek feedback constantly. Leadership is about multiplication, developing others, not just addition.
And the ultimate test.
Can the organization thrive without you? He says, the best leaders are those who guide, support, and hold people accountable, not those who command from above. And provocatively, if your organization depends on you, you haven't really succeeded as a leader.
Ouch. That's a high bar. So the reflection for leaders listening is, am I spending enough time designing the system? Am I empowering others enough? Or am I still too much in operator mode?
Those are the key questions.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground. So, wrapping up, what's the big provocative thought to leave our listeners with? Dalio's core argument seems to be, life and work are like machines. Understand the cause and effect, build your principles, and you can achieve mastery. So here's a question for you to chew on. In a world that often values intuition, spontaneity, going with your gut, how much more effective could you actually be if you deliberately applied a more systematic, principles-based approach to your biggest goals and challenges, even if, maybe especially if, it feels uncomfortable at first?
It's a challenge to the way many of us operate.
It really is. Okay, that brings us to the end of another deep dive, brought to you by BookCast FM, bringing books to life one cast at a time. If Dalio's ideas have got you thinking and you want to go deeper, we definitely recommend getting your own copy of Principles, Life and Work. We'll put a link in the episode description.
Yeah, definitely worth reading directly. And remember, our discussion here, it's really just a starting point. The real value, the real learning, comes when you take these ideas and apply them to your own life, your own work. Test them out, refine them, build your principles.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you for joining us on this exploration today. We hope this deep dive helps you make better decisions, learn more from your experiences, and ultimately get more of what you want out of life and work. Join us next time for another deep dive.